Oh, and I'd like to say, could we give all our performers one more round of applause? Everybody! So we've written tremendous amounts about each group, but we haven't got time to go through everything we've written right now, so we'll give some bullet points. Shall we, Patrick?
Yeah.
That's a good plan. I should say hello, my name's Adi and I'm a singer and conductor and a lyricist as well. I work with a lot of living composers creating new work, which is always thrilling, sometimes a little bit white knuckle, but hey. Randomly, I'm also a research historian a couple of days a week, but that's another story. What do I do? Choirs, a lot of opera. I've sung a lot of opera in my time, and I have a dim, dark past in the shows and theatre. So that's me. Tell us about you.
Okay, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. And echo what Adi said just about the standard of performance this afternoon was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. My name's Patrick. I like Adi, have a very kind of wide portfolio kind of career, so I conduct a bit and I compose a bit, I do a lot of arranging, I do a lot of workshop leading, and that kind of thing. So in lots of different types of music, so it's really nice to hear all this different type of music on stage this afternoon. So we started with the Campion ensemble. Where are you guys? You here, Campion. Now, I missed the introduction because I was typing, and I cannot type and listen at the same time. Are you from a school? A school. I thought you were absolutely brilliant. I live currently in Cornwall, and the only thing I do that's kind of regular on a weekly basis is a little junior wind band, Carrick Breeze. And so the reason I say that is I'm not comparing you to them, but I really, really appreciate the detail that you play with. Because I know on a weekly basis myself that you have to go into detail to extract really excellent performances. And the detail in your performance was absolutely brilliant. So I partly want to say just brilliant to the conductor for doing that. Is that okay? So I really appreciate the work you put into this group. I can hear it, you can hear it. This is the point about it, you can hear it. So you have such an amazing sense of ensemble. Just the way you lift your instruments up together when your conductor raises his hands to start the piece. You're just kind of you're going to play together from the word go, because you just do this. It's not done in a kind of like a sort of disciplinary military fashion. It's just done because we're going to begin. And I love that. All the way through. So you have just a great kind of collective endeavour about you, and that's what I appreciate the most about it. You just did a bit of gentle choreography for the Cantina Band. But I thank you for playing the Cantina Band music, by the way. It's John Williams' finest tune, in my humble opinion. I love this piece of music. And you did a bit of gentle choreography, which meant you had to play from memory, some of you, which is impressive. Didn't overdo it, just did enough to get a bit of life, and you sat down, you carried on playing. But you know, there's a kind of wonky ragtime piece, this piece, isn't it? Wonky ragtime. And if you don't play properly staccato, all of you, and if you don't play your syncopated rhythms really tightly, it doesn't work. And it worked because you did that. You did those things. And that's what kind of brought it to life. Some people think, oh, life's all about energy and commitment. It's also about subtlety and detail. That gives the music life, because it allows the music to kind of be heard properly. So I absolutely love that. I love the kind of the sort of jungle drumming break in the middle. I love the tutti crescendos. You just all crescendo together. Things like gorgeous kind of sax counter melodies, all sorts of things happening in this piece. Just brilliant. What a wonderful world. Where's my solo trumpet player? Where is he? Is he here? Stand up, I'll give you a round of applause. What a wonderful story. Thank you very much. You can sit down again. That's brilliant. Well done. So, this is super, lovely lyric and warm lyrical sound, really shaped the line so beautifully. There's excellent balance in the rest of the band. You're just listening, accompanying, just playing your dynamic at the right level to accompany the trumpet player. It was really super. Lovely collective sense of these tiny little crescendos. A small crescendo is so subtle. Everyone can do a big crescendo. To do a little one, just to lift you into the next verse, just makes the performance so detailed. A beautiful sense of unity. There's one where the saxes and the lower brass have the kind of melody on their own, and you did it all together the same way. And that's impressive because lower instruments, they need a little bit more coaxing to play the sort of melodies in unison, I find. And also saxes and tubas, they speak in a really different way. So to do that is just absolutely fantastic. Flutes and glocks, really beautiful. So just so controlled. And the tempo was just really good because the tempo was kind of spacious, but not hurried, but not slow. And your kit player held it beautifully, and without forcing it, just sounded really in control and beautifully done. So well done. And then when the kit didn't play, at the start of the John Williams trilogy, it's almost more impressive because your band still played really together and really in tune and really tight rhythm and sense of pulse without the drum kit. That shows you're good musicians. So I was really delighted to hear that too. And in Schindler's List, I could really hear the strings as well, adding to the texture. So nice to have the violins included in this band. And you're using your bow as well to really contribute to the sound and the texture. So well done, all of you. And the march at the end, which is my other favourite John Williams piece, was just beautifully done because you really made the rhythms come alive, the dotted rhythms. You gave them accuracy and energy in that little semi-quaver, and that makes it kind of that is the Indiana Jones character in that semi-quaver. So this is brilliant work from you guys. I have one thought for you to carry back, which you are welcome to reject because your conductor clearly knows what they're doing, and that is when you have long notes, wind players particularly, you must sustain them with energy and life, even if they're pianissimo. So get that sustaining muscle, your diaphragm, supporting the note from the word go, and listen to the sound you're making so it doesn't waver at all. Is that okay? Even a double semi-breathe pianissimo can have life in it. Is that okay? That was my one thing I would say, one tiny detail. And the fact that I'm talking in that level of detail to you is incredible. So everyone please, massive round of applause to the Campion Ensemble.
What we forgot to say at the beginning is we would like a representative of each group to spring down and shake our hands and receive a lovely certificate after each performance. So if you could just decide who that person is in your group. Is it done? Yes, Adi. No, Adi. Yes? Good. Thank you very much. Excellent. Next we heard from Rougemont School, Simply Strings. Will you guys wave at me? They're over there. Very quietly wave. Not a whoop. Not a whoop. Okay. Well, this is an amazing group. I mean, we're going to say astonishing and amazing quite a bit after this session, I think. This too is an amazing group, and I think what's amazing about these guys is that it is a group that has such achievement, such an accomplished, maturely playing group from one school. This is not a county-wide group or anything like that. This is one school that's got music making of this standard going on in their string group. Fabulous, just fabulous. We point out the lovely young lady who began with the solo at the beginning. Can we give this nice young lady a round of applause? Apart from heart-stopping nerves when you get to open a piece with a solo in that way, this young lady kept that very slow tempo absolutely anchored, but at the same time never bogged down. It was a tempo that actually flowed along. It had a real singing style to it, and yet it never sped up. It was beautifully anchored in a very decided tempo, and it was gorgeous, wasn't it? And then the tutti ensemble coming in underneath it was so gentle and yet really supportive. You could tell every player in that group had been listening to the style in which that solo had been played and came in on exactly the same moving vehicle, if you like, with subtlety and support and with no loss of fibre, if you like, in the tone. It was very warm and very beautiful, and I saw a lot of very judiciously judged use of vibrato. You were using just enough vibrato to warm that sound up, but never make it sound sort of overly splashy and romantic. It had that Celtic touch of hail in the air sort of romance about it. It was so lovely and beautifully judged. Tuning and blend was lovely. Oh, and I want to commend your piano player as well. Where are you? There we are. Tiny little way from you. Because it's not easy to be the one odd instrument out in an ensemble. Here's a whole bunch of strings and piano. And she played so subtly at the back there. Everything was about supporting the sound that was in front of her, never obtrusive, and yet just gave a shine on the sound world, and it was beautifully done. I really commend you. Then you shot off into It Must Be Love with a fabulous contrast to that gentleness of the first number. This was a lovely brisk tempo, a rhythmic attack, and it made, the tempo was lovely, and the cross rhythms came through this tempo. There was loads of syncopations, that it's really, syncopations when they're written in orchestral sense can be quite laboured, and you can go, and this didn't stop moving. This was beautiful. Those syncopations had quirkiness about them and a bit of fun, and they just kept moving through that rhythmic complexity with lovely clarity. It really was good. Particularly loved the repeated viola solo phrases coming through there. Go viola. Yes, let's hear it for viola. And I love the fade out at the end of this one too. That was very effective. And then the atmosphere you created at the beginning of the third number, again, was so confidently held. It was a very gentle, quiet start, and yet you kept that atmosphere. And then the first section developed into that rollicking sound. Well into the change of time signature, which you did with such ease and confidence. It seemed completely natural to do that, and the dance tempo really raced us along to the end with lovely focus, lovely drive. Your attention to your glorious leader is most professional indeed, and I think that that's a mark of a very well trained ensemble. As I say, it's amazing to see a group of playing at this level from one school. So I was going to say, that aside, I know there was one score I had in front of me that there were no dynamics at all after bar 13. Now, whilst that's not how you played, I did think we can grow that dynamic variation a bit more. I noted there were none in the score, so have yourselves a chat in the next rehearsal and work out exactly what we're pointing ourselves in. We need lovely, dramatic, dynamic contrasts all the way from hot pink to dark blue, and we need all those dynamics in your playing. So that's what I'll send you home doing, is grow that dynamic range and keep up the amazing, excellent work. Thank you to Rougemont School.
One of the nice things about being a mentor for Music for Youth is actually when you get to see the same ensembles. And so you would go out in the spring and we kind of work at regional festivals across the UK, and then sometimes we meet the same ensembles here in Birmingham. It's really lovely. So I remember hearing Rougemont School at Caerleon, just north of Newport, back in March, and that was really lovely. It's really lovely to see you again. And the next group we heard, the Northamptonshire School for Girls Clarinet Choir, I also heard back in Northampton in March as well, although I think then you were called the Clarinet Quintet, not Clarinet Choir. Where are you? Are you here? Great, I'm sure you were Clarinet. No, it doesn't matter, because you're still the same people, aren't you? So it was really lovely. And I heard, you didn't quite play the same programme, so that was nice for me. I didn't just hear the same pieces again, but I did hear one piece that was the same. So look, you play with the opening of Echoes of the Day, you played with such courage. And I say courage because it requires you all to be really brave. It starts very quiet, really quite slow, not much happening in terms of rhythmic detail. It's all about atmosphere and this kind of unfolding. And that requires courage from all five of you, because one person doesn't do that, everyone has to kind of go with them. And you didn't, you held that atmosphere, you held that spellbound. It was really beautiful to listen to. And then gradually as each movement unfolded, Radiance was really lovely, the next movement with its little snappy rhythms and this very ornamental little line at the top, sort of birdsong-like line at the top, ornamental line, which was very well controlled by the top clarinet part there, and very beautiful. So it struck me, I wrote here that some composers, when they write kind of daybreak or dawn music, and I thought of a piece by Ravel called Daphnis and Chloe, and I thought of a piece by Haydn, his Morning Symphony. They kind of revel in the dramatic appearance of the sun, but you don't, you just capture a few seconds in this piece of the sort of that weird light you get at first break of light. It's really nice. So Eva, who composed this piece, was also playing clarinet. Well done. It's a very kind of interesting vision for the piece then. I really like that. And then you got to the break of day, which kind of opens out to sort of maestosa. So we are unfolding into the kind of sun's appearance. And then Triumph was really lively and celebratory. And your kind of really good ensemble work as a quintet was apparent how you played those fortepiano chords and things like that together. You really sort of captured the staccato bounce of the quavers underpinning it, and the florid semi-quaver passage work and everything else. You really captured those things beautifully and took the piece to a nice conclusion. And Eva, again, I think I mentioned it when I heard it the first time, this is a really, really refined and sophisticated piece of music for a young person to write, and I'm very, very impressed with it. It has a lovely kind of harmonic language to it, very coherent shapes, a really strong sense of what it's trying to do, and you have kind of a good sense of how long the material can be around for. So you don't try and overextend a movement where you haven't earned the right to do so. You've just captured exactly the right length for the material you've composed, which is kind of that's quite a skill actually. And if it's an instinctive skill, well done you, because lots of composers, even very good ones, don't always have that. And sometimes they all outstay their welcome. You didn't. So Eva, congratulations to you and the quintet. Then you went on, you carried on a kind of nature and environmental theme with seasonal sketches, which is a lovely change of pace. It's a much more kind of whimsical piece, isn't it, this one? A sort of whimsy and a sort of light music feel to it. And I really, really love it. It's beautifully written. And again, such fantastic examples of your musicianship and your ensembles. At the end of the Summer Caprice, there's very kind of straight, there's very tight hemiolas, there's cross rhythms. You know what I mean by hemiola? When you go across the bar line with the rhythms, they are super tight. And the ending is pianissimo staccato, which is just a clarinet, single reed there. And you kept it really tight and in time and beautifully, humorously judged the very ending with the bass clarinet too. So it's absolutely fantastic. And your autumn pastel was well judged. Again, a bit like I was saying to Campion Ensemble, you found a tempo that was spacious but not dragging for this kind of autumnal piece. You captured that slightly wistful autumn feel in it as well. And when it had technically difficult things like the high leaps in the melody, you were really in control of those as well all the way through. So again, really thoughtful performance. And the Waltz of Spring Night was very well prepared. Your kind of collective endeavour to kind of whoosh along in this Viennese waltz type style, to capture the slightly quirky dance rhythms that give the piece all its own personality, its own life. You really got that too. We both thought, next, if you had a recording of that performance of in the second piece, in the last movement, the waltz, in Eva's piece, the breaking of the day, the third movement, maybe you could just lift your performance off the page a little more and really project. So were you genuinely maestosa when Eva marked maestosa? Were you really? And in the waltz one, can it really fizz a bit more, that waltz? Is that okay? Can it glide across the dance floor even more than you were doing? Those are the things you could extend yourself a little bit more. But a terrifically brilliant performance and a very fine piece of competition too. So NSG, the clarinet choir from Northampton School for Girls. Let's make a round of applause to them.
From King Edward VI School String Quartet. Where are you, quartet? There we are. Yeah, give us a woo. Actually, I think we can do better than that, because to find a string quartet of young players like this is gold dust. You guys are fabulous, and I'm so excited that young people are attempting to visit Planet String Quartet, because it is its own planet, and to be exploring this classical repertoire with the energy and commitment these guys are. Give them a round, I think. You gave us a very diverse programme. You showed off a tremendous amount of variety in your playing. Really impressive. And I know you were working with Patrick earlier today, and he gave you several challenges as well, which he tells me you took up with very good heart. So well done for that, because working with Patrick this morning and then incorporating that work into this afternoon's performance, that's what professionals do. It's not always easy to do in a short period of time. And so, again, lots of congratulations there. You took off with a lovely, brisk, energetic tempo with the Purcell, plenty of light and shade in the inner parts, and plenty of drive from the violin one and cello holding everything down there. It was very exciting. You've got a terrific sense of embodied playing. Now when I say embodied playing, I am always excited to see people who play their instruments as though it's just an extra arm or leg or an extra limb of some sort. The fact, you know, they don't seem quite complete without their instrument with them, and they play it as though it's a part of every other part of their body. It's fantastic to see when a musician cracks that moment and the playing becomes completely embodied. And you guys have all got that. And what that serves in your chemistry together as a string quartet is it means you can be generous to each other, and you can pass those musical phrases and those musical ideas from person to person. And that makes for such colourful playing. It really does. Is that what you were encouraging them in?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely great. That's great.
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, I don't take any credit for it at all. They just,
Oh, it's very exciting indeed. I really like the idea of bringing the viola to the front of the quartet, because that allows the cello not to dominate and the viola to be heard better. One little note though, make sure that because you've got the instruments back to the audience, just cheat it around a little bit so that the front of the instrument is facing the audience as much as you can manage. Because that viola texture in those middle notes, violin 2 and viola, of course, I don't know, we often don't think to listen through the texture to those inner notes, and it's always worthwhile doing it as an audience, listening through a texture to those inner notes. Then you gave us the lovely Mozart. This took off at a tremendous lick. My goodness, that was speedy Mozart, that was. Very exhilarating, very good. It's like going outside and having a nice cold bucket of water. But what was stunning was in this heightened tempo, the accuracy didn't waver. And those semiquavers were zipping by at an astonishing rate, particularly in violin 2 phrases. That bit where you got it in the middle section there, those semiquavers just keep coming, and it was astonishing. It was simply beautiful. Plenty of lovely light and shade in this phrasing. Even though they were moving almost at the speed of light, they didn't forget to make dynamic shape of those phrases. Mozart is all about playfulness and shape and putting a little giggle in here and a little cheeky wink in there. And you got all that character and phrase shaping in there. Then we had a lovely contrast with Gee's You Joy of Man's Desiring. Again, this is technically demanding because of those flowing triplet quavers that just never stop. And you cannot waver, and you cannot move, and there is no rubato, and they have to keep going. Well, what an exemplar you are. And then on top of that, the lovely chorale tune just floated absolutely securely over this texture. It was really beautiful. Also lovely phrase shaping here, because it's easy, you know, a piece that has a sort of walking tempo like this, it's an andante piece. It's easy to get a bit ploddy by page 4, and you didn't. You kept that beautiful singing style going right through the piece. It's as though you had a choral recording playing in your head or something. And then lastly, you gave us the Hungarian dance. Whoa, this really allowed you to showcase how your group chemistry works together. The tempo changes were just cheeky enough to give us a bit of character and then move on. Really love seeing that character in your playing. That's basically what I've said. And suggestions, it's just do it more, because it's so exciting. You're exploring this world to begin with, and then to be working through great classic pieces like you've played us today. You deserve every congratulation. Let's hear it for King Edward VI School String Quartet.
Another great thing about being a mentor for music for youth is that you turn up and heard a piece you haven't heard for 40 years, but you used to play when you were a trumpet player many, many years ago. So it was really lovely that the Northamptonshire Music Performing Arts Brass Quintet started with Frère Jacques, because I used to play the second trumpet in this in the brass quintet, not as well as you. Where are you? Where are you? There you go. So thank you, just for that reason alone, thank you. Is that okay? And that's basically all I wrote. That was it. Is that okay? It was really good. Do you know, at one point in your performance, we both turned to each other and went, God, isn't the tuning good in this? We just kind of both instinctively, it was really, and right from the beginning, muted trumpet, not muted trumpet, that's a recipe for bad intonation in itself, but you were just beautifully done. It was so perfect, and you played it just really conversationally, just very musically open. And then this open fifth comes in, the trombone and the tuba, and it was just absolutely perfect. It was just brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. So, and you kept it going all the way through the whole set. I mean, but there was just those opening moments. My goodness, these guys can really play in tune, and with a really good sound as well, and just really committed. Lovely. Just things like low second trumpet parts. It goes right, it's horrible down there, isn't it? I mean, you kept it beautifully in tune down. It's really well done. So that kind of thing, just fantastic. Those bell-like attacks that take over after that opening little bit, it was just so uniformly done. And for the first time, I kind of heard the horn's first entry was kind of an indication of how brilliant you are. We'll come to that in a second. And then again, you just did like the Campion ensemble, you just did these lovely controlled crescendi together. You controlled that kind of crescendo scale, the staccato one, didn't rush at all. That's, you know, this little tiny little hurdles that you hear groups not quite manage, you absolutely managed. Just really professional. And your forte was not too forte for that opening paragraph, so the whole paragraph had a really satisfying shape. You didn't try and overdo the climax of it, you just did enough, had a nice shape, and it kind of settled down. And this is really good ensemble playing, really thoughtful music making, because structurally you don't want to spend it all in that first few minutes. It's very easy to do it in that arrangement. Then this is like, this next bit's like Mahler, right? Do you know Mahler? Mahler symphonies? He uses this minor version of the tune in his first symphony. I don't know if you know that, it kind of comes from there. You probably do know that. What a fantastic tuba player. I mean, goodness me, you can play the tuba, and you play with such a tone and lyricism and warmth. I mean, lots of tubas can go boom, 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 quite well, but you do the other thing, which really sing with the instrument throughout the whole range as well. So I'm very impressed with that. It was just kind of beautiful. And then just other things, the range of instruments, the trombonist, when you have those pedal notes, or the nearly pedal notes, just a gorgeous sound in there. You didn't kind of, they weren't raspy, they just had enough sort of weight in them and kind of brassiness to make them interesting, but they weren't overdone. So this was just great. You found changes of pace brilliant, the sort of jazzy variations were great, those little contorted, chromatic key changes were really well done, very focused, very centered. You understood what's happening with the music because you could bring them out clearly, they weren't a surprise to you. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And then I didn't know the next piece at all, so I didn't know these sort of Swiss dances. You brought two movements, the old castle, where your horn player disappeared off, and I thought, well, we've all done that in a performance. Didn't quite prepare ourselves before we came on stage, but it's fine, it wasn't that at all. You were actually going off for a really good reason. And you played off stage beautifully, because you played with real kind of like heroic kind of horn playing. It's kind of like calling across the valley. It's calling across an alpine glacial valley, this alpine horn. And you had that. Your range again down into your kind of pedal notes was very secure, but your kind of style of the music and the confidence you brought to it was really impressive. And even when the trumpet was playing, I could still hear you. So you were working hard off stage to be heard. And I was kind of really, really impressed with that all the way through. And then great change of pace to the march. A jolly bunch of Swiss people, kind of lolloping down the street in their traditional Swiss costume here. Probably some lederhosen in sight somewhere, I would think, if you were looking really closely. But you captured the rhythm of that beautiful. And the Più Mosso was just kind of like really nicely judged, that tempo change, and had a great ending. And all the way through, your stylish, mature playing, technically mature playing, but a really good ensemble sound, and kind of a real sense of scale to your performance. So when it opened out in just the right way. So absolutely fantastic. I have one complaint. My complaint is, you're so good at performing, you finished and you started fiddling with your music. We're clapping. But when you finish, you bow. You acknowledge the audience who are loving your performance. You don't start going, oh, page 4, where's that gone? Is that okay? You finished. Bow. Is that okay? Yeah, please do that, because it's you just need to. You're so professional in every moment. Apart from that, then I thought, well, don't do that. So that's my one feedback for you. Isn't that a musical piece of feedback? Isn't that good? Don't fiddle with your music. Bow. Okay, great. It's capital letters. Well done, NMPAT Brass Quintet. Round of applause, please.
It's been a jam-packed programme and we're nearly there. Right, we heard next from the Birmingham School's Double Reed Ensemble. Wave at me, guys. Yes! Have you ever seen so many oboes and bassoon in one place at one time? Wow! What a sound world this is. Wow, double reeds. And of course, double reeds are so hard to play, aren't they? They are so... Oh, they're like operatic sopranos, aren't they? They're so touchy. And getting the wrong bit of atmosphere or the wrong amount of water in your reed or the right amount and yet there's too much air and every oboe player I've ever worked with is just sort of constantly fiddling with their reeds. Actually, Patrick, yes. Or else they've got, a little nest of half a dozen on the floor in case one splits or whatever. So it's an incredibly difficult instrument to make sound as well as you guys. And then to make them all sound good together, that is another achievement again. So I think this sound world, which has huge character in it, huge character, is just, Patrick said it just caught the plaintive note of the beginning of your first piece, which was the waltz number 2. You just kept that plaintiveness that was characteristic in the music, and you captured that very well. It's a really cohesive ensemble. They play together so easily, don't they? And it was really obvious how much preparation had been put into this and how much concentration had been put into playing together with that dignity and that mature professionalism that we saw them play with. It's some lovely phrase passing. I was talking about passing the phrases between the string quartet. The phrase passing that happens in an ensemble like this. I'm playing this bit and then I pass the baton to you and then I pass it. This is a generous ensemble, the way they pass musical ideas across the group to each other. Second piece they gave us tonight, the Bernstein, lovely. I particularly noted the first bassoon with those lovely syncopated slurred notes that were just slurred enough to have character and not to be comical. I think that was incredibly finely judged, really well done. The core and the first bassoon at letter I, really nice melodic takeover. The melody had been in the oboes and cor anglais there, then it was taken over by the lower instruments, and that was such a lovely, easy takeover of the melodic material. Particularly, my jaw hit the floor with the contrabass part, which was played on and we didn't have a contra, did we, today? So it was just three bassoons, just. We had the contra part played on a bassoon, really smoothly moving through. Lots of held notes here. Now that's what bassoons do a lot, is start the note on the front of the bar and hang on to it till the end of the bar, and then start the note on the next bar. But these players managed to make that, every single held note, have a life and a journey right through every beat of the bar until the note changed to the end. This is lovely, lovely playing, really sensitive musicianship. This allowed loads of light and air also into the offbeat, interjective parts. It was because he was going, oh, oh, oh. There was so much light and air in that playing. So much, it was beautiful. Then we got into the third piece, which was the Lord of the Dance. Now that had a lovely atmospheric opening. We sort of had all that Celtic stuff going off on the far misty hills, didn't we? And then we came into a fabulous, rollicking compound time tempo. This had tremendous amounts of character. And again, those held notes were never stodgy. Let's face it, it's not chordally very adventurous. It goes from the tonic to the dominant, to the dominant, to the tonic, to the tonic, and then to the dominant, and then possibly back to the tonic for a minute before you do the dominant again, and then back to the tonic for the end. There's not many chords in this tune. However, what was fabulous was the way that journey, that harmonic journey through some very simple chords, was maintained and kept smooth and active and lively and exciting. What was impressive was the number of semiquavers and quavers that just kept metronomically zipping by. Da 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 da. Don't breathe. Da 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 da. Exactly. Astonishing. Page after page of all of that. Never moved. I was just jaw on the floor. Anyway. I wondered if it might help you in future times to farm that about. Do in choral terms, we call it roving. And you know, I'll do a bit for you, and then you have 2 bars rest, and I can then take over in 2 bars time. Sometimes you can split it up like that when you get really repetitive work like this. But there's me going on. What an amazing performance. This really showed us a whole new sound world, I think. It certainly opened my eyes to so many possibilities, which I'm really excited about. So let's say a massive thank you to Birmingham School's Double Reed Ensemble. I got really excited here.
Yeah, that's great, that's fine, it's fine. That was a great tune. Is that right? Great, that's an earworm, it's gorgeous. Your music room must be the best place in the world, mustn't it, in your school? It's a place where you all go, hang out, create lovely things, and play instruments that sound amazing. Just, you'll remember that room for the rest of your life. You might remember this gig or anything you do, but that room, you'll always remember what a place it must be. I love this, I absolutely love this. I love the opening. How quiet were those shakers at the beginning? My goodness, I thought, no one's going to hear that. But they did hear it, it was great. It was really brave though to play them that quietly. And so the whole opening was great with all the instruments coming in and gradually building up. It was really, really nice. But it wouldn't be good if you didn't play it well. It would just be like interesting or fun, but actually because you played musically so brilliantly, it's really, really good. Does that make sense? Yeah, the musical values are highest, even though you're doing kind of flash mob type things around it. And that's what I love the most, because the bossa nova type style thing you were doing kind of had a kind of that lovely sort of live, sort of supple feel to it, real groove, and a nice kind of build and build and build. It's a bit like, it reminded me a bit of Ravel's Boleros, and just builds and builds and builds. Just one more note at the ending just to help me, is that okay? But that's your choice, the ending, it's your choice. But I mean, that would be a little tiny thing, but it was really, really wonderful. And also, who doesn't love a melodica? I love a melodica. It was really nice to have a melodica in there, so thank you. I had one like you, and I bought a more expensive one. It didn't sound any better. They always sound that way. I spent like £400 on one. It still sounds like a melodica. I thought they were going to sound different, but it didn't. So don't bother. Okay, don't buy a more expensive one. Is that okay? Just keep down. I promise you won't get hurt on that. Great. And meditation was absolutely beautiful. What a superb and gorgeous, really absorbing little xylophone ostinato. I was really fascinated by it. Kept my interest all the way through, and this kind of delicious sort of soundscape evolving, and a really nice head that you all played in unison, which you really composed. I can tell you composed it because there were little bits of variation there. There's a moment you have like triplets descending, and next to them like staccato crotchets. Do you know what I mean? Is that making sense? And it's like, I just felt like they've really thought about this. There were tiny bits of variation within it, and where the shape is coherent, and I understand it, but you're just keeping me interested by doing these little tiny things in there, and it's just really absorbing. So it's good composing, as well as lovely playing, to hear you all kind of playing in unison, and just having like string players in there, and the harp and the piano, it just adds kind of great texture and depth to everything as well. So it's such a lovely sound. When the piece went into that little alto sax and violin duet, that was really nice. There was a moment, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? In the piece, just the two of you kind of really there. And that was like the harmonization. That was really interesting. The lower line, I think, was in the so my ears probably not the violin. But anyway, the harmonization of those two instruments was really interesting. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, and that took it off in a new direction. That piece, and then the ending was great because you just kind of had this very gentle ending, just kind of floated off up into the sort of the upper reaches of the piano, and it was really touching. But it wasn't self-indulgent, and that's really impressive. And a bit like I said to Eva with her clarinet piece, that you just found exactly the right length of that material. You didn't over-egg it. You just found what that material will give you a piece of music this long. And that was great to hear, because it just made it really beautiful, rather than just sort of a little bit self-indulgent. It was absolutely fantastic. And then Soweto, great change of pace. You captured the kind of like the vibe and the kind of like the fun of that township music and everything else that really came across strongly. And again, your head was lovely. I'm still singing it now, annoyingly. I'll be singing it on my way home tonight, annoyingly. I love that little sort of like appoggiatura at the top of it. It's really nice. I love the note where you suddenly just harmonise 2 or 3 notes, or one note. You had your blue note, your flattened note in as well. All those things just kind of really beguiling and interesting to listen to. Really mature. I mean, just beautiful. Really nice sort of stop time drum break towards the end. I thought, I know this was going. It's really gonna. You've got new energy. Oh yeah, we're going somewhere. And you surprised me again. You went somewhere completely different and did something that was so beautiful by getting everyone to sing. I mean, I really can't commend that highly enough. It was such a surprising thing to happen at that point, but just so beautiful, and what a great way to end our afternoon. So that was a stunning group, really. I'm just so impressed with it. I just love to kind of spend one of your 30-minute lunch breaks in that room and just listen to you work. It'd be just great fun. So congratulations, what an amazing place. So this is for Radical Steps, please, an incredible set. Thank you very much.
Session of the day. There's even another session this evening. I hope there are people who can hang around for the rest of the festival here in Birmingham. First of all, could we say thank you very much to our loving audience who have come to support all the music making. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting everything you do. Also, massive thank you. Could you turn to your music teachers and leaders and give them a huge round of applause? To look after our music teachers and leaders. They are an endangered species, and we have to look after them with love and buy them chocolate and biscuits and all that sort of thing, possibly occasional bottles of wine. But I also want to say a big thank you to Patrick, because I very much enjoyed sitting next to him. And to thank everyone for coming to take part this year. We'd be delighted to see you again. Safe travelling, and we'll see you next time.